My Aunt Lucy was 63 years old. She started walking 5 miles every day. Now she's 91 and we don't know where she is. And we laugh. But the number one limiting belief that holds us back is focusing on an outward, on a future destination, a future outcome, when in reality, the only thing we can really answer is where we are right now. Think about it, it's like ordering an Uber ride that requires that you enter in your current location. If you lie about where you are, the directions won't work. So right out of the chutes, as the third speaker is getting cleanup, I want to ask you, where are you right now? Physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, socially, financially, within your family, fun, recreation, and charitable giving. There's 9 areas of life if you really want to be the best version of yourself. Where are you right now? What have you learned so far? And without asking you to respond with time and consideration, maybe I can just share what I've learned so far. Silas Jones steps up as a 15-year-old, and I couldn't help but reflect on how many times all of us have been in a room, in a conference, in a meeting like this, where someone convinces us to think outside the lines. You got to think outside the box. And I would hope that the next time, having just witnessed this amazing child prodigy, if you will, that you'll join me in the back of the room and actually ask and answer, what if the answers are still in the box? When most of us come to conferences like this, breakfast paloozas, we come in search of the new answers. Come on, give us some pixie dust. Come on, give us some secret sauce. When in reality, don't you think we ought to come in search of the right answers? And the right answers have always been right, or we can't call them right. So remember what we learned from Silas. Everything required to take you and me to the next level is already inside of you. Everything to take your organization to the next level is already inside of your organization. We just have to talk about the right things. We just have to stretch. We have to implement the relevance of everything we've been taught so far. What did you learn from Jason Jenkins? Well, right out of the chutes, I'm a songwriter. I would write a song about Jason, but I don't know what rhymes with stud, muffin, hunk of burning love. And when I met him first, I almost passed out sucking my gut in just so I looked respectable talking to him about life. But you remember his equation? He simplified the process of taking ourselves from where we are to where we want to be right now. Remember? Standards plus habits equal results. Let's talk about standards. I celebrate you for sacrificing. Nathan already said people cancel because of the inclement weather. Oh, I'm so sorry. Give me a tissue. You proved to yourself that you were willing to do what Jason says and take a risk. Face your bear. Invest in yourself. Let's celebrate who you are in this room, because outside of these walls is a minimum requirement mediocrity. And every time I hop on an airliner, I'm reminded about this. I don't know how many miles you've flown. I've gone 10 million miles on Delta Airlines, 6 million MQL miles in their frequent flyer program. Jason says he's been happily married 25 years. A lot of you are like, whoa, I've been married for 43 years. Everybody says, what's your secret? I've only been home 6 weeks total. It's going perfect. We can talk about that after hours. We got the secret sauce, trust me. That every time I get on an airplane and I fly out in the morning, go back to Phoenix, like Jason said, I'm here all day for you. I want to connect. I recognize a few of my dear friends here. I love you. I honor you. You know that. Dave Austin, a hero, mentored all of us. But in the morning, I'm going to hop on a flight, and thank God it's only one nonstop flight to Phoenix. But most of the time when I have to get around the country, around the world, it's 2 or more stops. And every single time we get on an airplane, they force feed us the same pre-flight safety demonstration. Any of you listen to the pre-flight safety demonstration on board the plane? You do? I'm so sorry. You need therapy. Anybody who has to be taught how to put a seatbelt on should not be allowed in public unsupervised. And every time I get on the airplane, These flight attendants give us brain damage. Bring your seat up to the most upright and uncomfortable position. Alive, dead. Alive, dead. Alive, dead. I survived a plane crash in 1988, Stanton, Virginia, Shenandoah Valley Airport. Trust me, when you finally hit, an inch and a half does not make a difference. There's crap everywhere. And the flight attendants stand up and they lie every time. We're here for your safety. No, they are not. When you're going down there strapped in and screaming just like we are. Just once, I want them to give me the microphone and let me share with everybody what really happens in an emergency. Ladies and gentlemen, in the event of a decrease in cabin pressure, a little oxygen mask, a gold cup's going to conk you in the head. When you stop screaming, brace yourself for a 200 feet per second vertical dive. And if you're traveling with more than one child, pick your favorite. Because you ain't got time to make another choice. What happens when we get on an airplane and we raise our standards? We're not competing against others, we're competing against what we're capable of. Jason Jenkins 101. We're committed to taking it outside of our comfort zone and making flying fun. Do we not remember that? Is it not contagious? Is that not the secret to referrals and building our business? Absolutely. I'm on Delta Airlines. We're coming into Dallas, Texas. Huge turbulence. We're bouncing all over the sky. We finally land. We bounce. We land. We bounce. We land. Taxi to the gate. Flight attendant comes over to the PA system. Hi. Welcome to Dallas, Texas. If you enjoyed your flight, tell your friends you flew Delta Airlines. If you did not enjoy your flight, tell your friends you flew Southwest. And everybody on the plane goes, huh? And obviously the flight attendant had a great relationship with leadership because she then says, and please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened while Captain Kangaroo bounces us the rest of the way to the gate. That's funny. And is it contagious? Yeah, an elderly woman walking in the aisle right behind me with her cane. She comes to the doorway. Are you the pilot? Yes, ma'am. Did we really land or did we get shot down? Standards. We don't compete against what we're expected to compete against. We're competing against what we're capable of. And I really believe in mindset. Yeah, paper and pen. Maybe I could give you 3 quick quotes that I guarantee will change your life forever. Number 1, under pressure, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall to your level of training. That's why you're here. That's why we train and prepare and practice so hard. Which means pressure is not something that's naturally there. It's created when you question your own ability. And when you know what you've been trained to do, there's no pressure. Peer pressure made me do it. Oh, no, they didn't. How about, it's not enough for you to say, I will do my best. We must succeed in doing that which is necessary. Yeah. How about we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. If we could somehow look at the lashing storm outside of this window, which would be a blessing for this part of my speech, someone in this room would complain what a horrible day, and someone else would exclaim what a wonderful day. Weather did not change. So in the 4.5 hours that I've been asked to speak this morning, my desire is to do nothing more than just take what we're learning from these individuals who preceded me and hopefully bring a little bit more relevance because they've taught us nuggets of wisdom that can change our lives if we accept their challenges. But what about the implementation, the practical application? With all due respect, facts tell, stories sell. So I want to ask your permission to take you on an emotional roller coaster ride, share some stories, laugh and cry, and then maybe conclude by lip syncing 3 Britney Spears songs so you'll never be the same. What did we learn from Kevin Guest, CEO, musician? The key question, and I know the answer to it, and I know you do too, is Kevin Guest a premier, extraordinary performing artist who happens to be a CEO or chairman of a billion-dollar company? Or is Kevin Guest a CEO, chairman of a billion-dollar company who happens to be a musician? We know the answer to that. And now combine what we learned from Cyrus and what we now know about music and harmony from Kevin. Do you realize every single song in this world was written with the same 12 notes? There's only 12 notes in music. And the only difference between one song and another song is the order in which those 12 notes fall and the timing and spacing in between the notes. And it doesn't matter the genre, every song written was written with the same 12 notes. I wish I could just pull out that piano, do a Rachmaninoff piano concerto, prove my point. Play a little Wynton Marsalis smooth jazz. I'm a rhythm and blues guitar player. We can play a little Stevie Ray Vaughan, a little B.B. King. We could play one of the great country songs that I've written. Had I shot you when I met you, I'd be out of jail by now. And every one of these songs was written with the same 12 notes. So here's my question of the day that we learned from Kevin Guest and Silas. What's the difference between a hit songwriter and a lousy songwriter? They have access to the same 12 notes. What's the difference between a great banker and a lousy banker? They have access to the same interest rates and the same economy. What's the difference between one great multi-level marketing company and a supplement guru company and another one that sells magic berry juice? The answer is exactly the same. Passion, creativity, and imagination, full circle, the answers are in the box. We just have to gather with the right people, because we do in fact become the average of the 5 people we associate with most. Which means we must be willing to pay any price and travel any distance to associate with extraordinary human beings. Isn't that why you're here? That's why I'm here. I can't say no to Nathan and Lacey. I'm so grateful he didn't ask me for a new car. But I knew the kind of individuals that they attract into their circle of influence, and I challenge every one of us for the next Breakfast Palooza to invite 5 people so that we force them to have a triple-sized venue and maybe even come back here. We need to acknowledge this is the place. Ms. Goodrich, Tricia in the room, the co-sponsors. Beautiful venue. If you're in a position to pull the trigger and use this venue for a wedding, for a mastermind, I challenge you to do it. We need to support them. This is beautiful. I've been here so many times. If you'll accept my challenge, let me just illustrate what I've been asked to talk about. I've written 37 books, New York Times bestselling author. My flagship book is called The Art of Significance, Achieving the Level Beyond Success, published by Penguin Random House. And when I finished my book tour, I realized the number one most frequently asked question was, Clark, what's the difference between success and significance? It all began in a conversation I had with one of my football teammates. He was drafted into the National Football League in the 2nd round by the Philadelphia Eagles. After 2 years with the Eagles, he's traded to my Oakland Raiders. After 4 years in the league, playing at the highest Pro Bowl status, one day he walks out of practice, quits, never to play again. Why? He loved being a football player, but he hated playing football. He got what he thought he wanted, and he hated what he got. Can any of you relate? Jason, August 10th, looking in the mirror, buffed, no. Successful in someone's eyes, very wealthy, absolutely. Something was missing, there's something more. My football buddy suddenly had that epiphany. He knew he was successful, and he enjoyed the celebrity perks of fame and fortune that allowed him to have this amazing lifestyle. But he hated what he had to do to get it, which meant he would be successful, but he would never enjoy a life of significance that those of us who are here today are striving to achieve. And he would die with regrets and with his intentions and music still in him. If you go to my website, danclark.com, I've wined and dined with President Shakes. I've interviewed every famous, wealthy person on this planet, many times. Played golf, spent a lot of time, Michael Jordan, Michael Phelps, Sheikh Nahyan, United Arabs, you name it. I'm dropping names on purpose because in the mixture of those superstars who we envy for their wealth, we find a miserable group of people who have lost their souls. And they will die with 9 Bentleys, 3 Chateaus, a couple of Ferraris, maybe this and that, alone. And that's not what this life is supposed to create. From standards plus habits equals results. Vision and, help me Kevin, don't leave me hanging. Values and emotional intelligence. How cool is that they dumbed it down for those of us who played football? I mean, my cholesterol count's higher than my SAT scores. And I get it now. Kevin, guess, his hair has not moved since 1977. And I'm losing my hair right here, and I'm growing it in places I don't even need it. It's not a fair trade-off. My only hope is that the hair of my right ear will grow long enough I can comb it up over the top of my head and fake all of you out. So is it not worth our time to find someone who has traveled the road before? Someone who has been there, as Tony Robbins says, turns decades into days. I want to be one of those. I want to be here for you just as they do. I know we're here for a reason. And this is do something larger than we've ever done before. And my 3 steps are really simple because the art of significance I decided to break down into an acronym. ART. I'm sensitive about acronyms. If you are listen to speakers, let me give you an acronym and then they follow it. The other day I'm on a program with the president of Yale University. And he wants to use an acronym. He stands up and he says, Y stands for, and he goes off for like 45 minutes. He says, A stands for, he goes on for another 45 minutes. The guy next to me leans over and he says, thank God he didn't go to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or we'd be here all frickin' month. Acronym is really easy. Awareness, refinement, transformation. I just want to illustrate that and then conclude. Awareness. My awareness changed a few years ago. Can you start the little video clip? My awareness changed a few years ago on October 23rd when I had the rare opportunity to soar to the edge of space in a U-2 reconnaissance aircraft. I intensified my training for 2.5 months, lost 29 pounds. I checked onto the base for a full day of systems orientation. I was fitted into my 130-pound spacesuit. And I was introduced to my commander, and we climbed aboard the aircraft and rapidly climbed to 17 miles above the Earth's surface, where for 5 hours I sat in the sounds of silence, looking at the breathtaking curvature of the Earth, gazing into the endless blackness of the universe, pondering eternity and my place in it. And with an unobstructed view of Mother Earth, I teared up as an eyewitness to the words of Einstein, who said, the mind once stretched can never return to its original dimensions. It's already happened today. Congratulations to my 2 previous speakers, and especially Silas. The music's inside of us. Don't keep it there. Don't die with your music inside. We got to just do whatever we need to do. And the relationships in this room will provide that, because proximity is one of the greatest tools we have to make our dreams come true. So, as an eyewitness to the words of Einstein, I also realized why Einstein wrote, although the concept of a supreme being and master organizer is complex, we must embrace the mindset of a young child who walks into a large library and says, surely someone must have written all these books. We're not offending you by going to that place of faith. What we have to understand that if you saw what I saw and felt what I felt, you would come to the conclusion that we're more than mere mortal beings living on a small planet for a short season. And therefore our purpose must be aligned with why we were born at this time in our history and what are we supposed to do, and not what are we going to do later, but as Jason challenged us to do, what are you going to do right now? And then we landed, and I had a chance to evaluate what I learned. And you know what? It changed my perspective. Talk about vision, Kevin. That 5-hour sortie changed my perspective, which changed my life forever. How? Why? Perspective controls everything that we believe and do. Can I give you a couple of quick examples? Is your glass half empty or half full? Or is it refillable? It's perspective. I had a chance to be the keynote speaker at a convention in Buffalo, New York. Thousands in this arena. And the topic was anorexia and bulimia. Thousands of young men and young women battling every day. They're concerned parents, healthcare professionals, counselors. And for the first 15 minutes I was confused because everyone that took the podium before me called it an eating disorder, and it doesn't have one flippant thing to do with food. So I was introduced. And in the first 10 minutes, My head's on a swivel. I'm looking for a woman that I can tell from the stage is very strong, very confident. I found her. Miss Jones, let me just pick on you. What's your first name? Stephanie, Silas's mom. So I say to her, excuse me, ma'am, what's your name? She says, Stephanie. I said, would you feel comfortable interacting with me? You don't have to give me a verbal response, just kind of some body language. And I'm inviting everybody in that arena to also participate and answer the questions. I said, Stephanie, are you tall or are you short? Are you wide or are you thin? Are you fast or are you slow? Are you stupid or are you smart? Are you pretty or are you pretty ugly? Says who? Compared to what? If we somehow have the ability to take Stephanie and transport her to a deserted island where she had no access to fashion magazines, no access to those Photoshop Twiggy models that are non-existent, would you not suddenly wake up every morning and say, I love me. I am woman, hear me roar. You guys, you don't know how fast you are because you're not running against anybody. You're competing against what you're capable of. And even when I said to Stephanie, are you smart or are you stupid? She kind of went. Einstein said, everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will spend its entire life believing it is stupid. You are everything you're supposed to be, girl. And when we hang around with the right people at Breakfast Palooza, thank God for Nathan and Lacey. Think about, they're in town for 30 days and already want to make a difference. And some of us are going to leave here today and go, man, that's good. I got a little packet, got some food. No, Jason said, come on, who's ready? All we have to do is believe in the power of perspective. And I had mine changed forever. Because sitting in the sounds of silence at 17 miles above the Earth's surface took me back to the sounds of silence in a hospital room. When I was lonely in a loved one's arms, I was alone in a crowded room, and I was paralyzed playing football in a tackling drill with dreams flying high, projected #1 draft pick by the Oakland Raiders, invitation tryout by the Kansas City Royals out of high school as a baseball pitcher. That was my attitude, that was my identity. I was an athlete. One day in practice, the coach blows the whistle. Another player and I ran full speed into each other in a violent head-on collision, smashing my right shoulder into the cutting edge of my fiberglass pads. We slammed to the ground. When Lyle got off of me, I had compressed the 7th cervical vertebrae in my neck. I had severed the axillary nerve in my right deltoid muscle, and I'd suffered a grade 2 concussion, which is really bad. My eye drooped, I had loss of speech, I couldn't talk anymore. My right side was paralyzed and my arm dangled helplessly at my side. Coach comes running over, Clark, you all right? What happened? Raka so roja from my right. He says, whoa, are you from Spanish Fork? I'm just kidding. He said, I'm sorry. He said, you better just lay there. I said, whoo. A doctor that was present on the field, he came over and examined me, pulls the coach aside. Clark's got serious nerve damage. In fact, he might even have serious brain damage. The coach looks at him and says, how will we ever know? Finally, I went back to normal. My speech came back. I could talk again. Right side paralyzed, arm dangled at my side, leaving me paralyzed for 14 months. I went to 16 of the very best doctors in all of North America. Craig Rehabilitation Center in Denver. Dr. Job, Frank Job, took care of me at Sentinel Hospital in Inglewood. 15 of those 16 doctors told me I would not recover. I would never get any better. Have any of you ever heard this? What happens if you believe it? You never get any better. And my life spiraled downward until I hit what I thought was rock bottom. Cut to the chase, I fought my way back to a 95% recovery. Here are the 3 most frequently asked questions that I think will benefit you as far as the relevance of what we learned so far today. Question number 1, Clark, what do you mean you thought you hit rock bottom? Listen closely. No matter how tough it gets, no matter how hard or how bad it is right now, no one ever hits rock bottom. We hit rock foundation. We hit rock belief. We hit the baseline core values on which we were raised. And if your organizations, if your companies, you think they've hit a bump in the road right now, they're going south. No, they have not hit rock bottom. They've hit rock foundation. They've hit the baseline governing principles on which they were built. So when Kevin starts talking in a very short amount of way of the significance and power of values and gives the personal example of integrity so they throw millions of dollars of product away, that's what it's about. And each of us inside, from the inside out, have the ability to actually raise our standards, as Jason challenged us to do, and leave here differently than we were when we arrived. Second most frequently asked question, Clark, why did you keep going to so many different doctors? The answer is obvious, and it's why we're here together. I kept going from doctor to doctor until I found one who believed I would get better. Who taught me knowledge is power, but knowledge has no heart. We don't learn to know, we learn to do. All the information in the world is going to make a person successful. It's like the guy who has 3 PhDs, one in philosophy, one in psychology, one in sociology. He doesn't have a job, but at least he can explain why. What's my point? Reason leads to conclusions, but it is emotion that leads to action. Reason leads to conclusions, but it is emotion that leads to action. And the third most frequently asked question, Clark, what took you so long to pivot? What took you so long to recover? What took you so long to get better? Maybe you're asking yourself that question. Maybe it's because you lost your identity like I did. You see, I thought I was a football player when in reality that's just what I did, not who I am as a man. And when we identify ourselves in terms of what we do instead of who we are, we become a human doing instead of a human being. Unacceptable of significance is what we seek. I stayed paralyzed for 14 months because I was asking the wrong questions. I was asking the doctors how to get better when I should have been asking myself why. And once we answer why, figuring out the how-to becomes clear and simple. And as Jason pointed out, he shows up with that 75 hard, and people are kind of joking with him like, what's going on? And pretty soon it goes day 76, day 77, and they start making fun of him, trying to make him feel better. Because he was true to himself, and his why was bigger than his why not. He didn't give a rat's wackazoodle what anybody else thought. He's on a mission of self-discovery to be the best version he is. Because he's going to make a lousy somebody else. Refinement. Refinement. What's it about? I've worked with most of the teams in the National Football League. And I'm welcoming you into a typical NFL team meeting, 53 elite athletes. And I'm paid huge bucks to walk into that team meeting with a challenge and a task to take 53 elite athletes who collectively represent over $208 million in annual salary to the next level. What would you have said to them? The good news is the same thing that motivates them motivates you and me, expectations. So, as the meeting begins, I ask a captain of the team and an assistant coach to come to the front, and they hold the ends of a broomstick so it's suspended 12 inches off the floor. And before the meeting ever began, I got the name of the most gifted and talented player on the team who can jump 38 inches high. Whoa. And at no surprise, prima donna superstar sitting on the back row. So I call him out by name, ask him to help me. Sure enough, takes him 22 and a half minutes to strut to the front of the room like he sat on something hot. And now he's addressed the captain and assistant coach holding the broomstick 12 inches off the floor. And I engage him. Hey, you think you can jump over this 12-inch high broomstick? He glares at me and refuses to move. So I change the question. Will you jump over this 12-inch high broomstick? Sarcastically, he pacifies me, skips over the bar, stares me down, so I stare back. And here's where the teaching begins. I asked him, why did you only jump 12 inches high when you and your teammates and coaches know you can jump 38 inches high? And his answer was epic, because that's all you asked me to do. How high is your bar? Everyone with whom you live, work, recreate, and perhaps worship knows how high it is because they see you jumping it every single day. But only you know how high it should be. Only you know if you're pushing yourself to your ultimate capacity potential as a human being. Not because it's expected by anybody else, Jason Jenkins, but because it's demanded of yourself. That man in the mirror, that woman in the mirror saying, it's time. We're all going to die. Why not fire up right now and make sure I don't die with my music still in me? Refinement, and now a transformation in my conclusion. This is all fun and well unless we take action, right? So let me just put it in the context of business development. Competitive advantage is never created by doing more than your competition. Competitive advantage is always created by doing what your competition is not willing to do. My dad battled cancer for 6.5 years. One of the best songs I ever wrote, used to get a lot of radio play. It's called Special Man. Wrote it after my dad. Lyrical hook, any male can be a father, but it takes a special man to be a dad. That's my dad. I wanted to be by his bedside when he took his last breath. That didn't happen for me. I was out of town up in Seattle, Washington. I was there for 2 days to speak to 2 large trade associations downtown at the convention center. I'm staying out of town at the Seattle Airport Marriott Hotel. It's Friday morning, October 12th. I'm ready for the day. Phone rings. I think it's my ride downtown to the convention center. So I almost picked up the phone and flippantly said, "I'll be right there." But for some odd reason, I just stood there. 15 seconds of silence later, my younger brother's voice pierces the quietness of the call. "Danny," I said, "Paul, what's up?" He said, "Dad died this morning at 7 a.m. I said, "Whoa." Sat down at the edge of my bed and the tears just started to fall. And I said, "How's Mom?" He said, "She's all right." I said, "Give her a big hug and a kiss for me. Will you please tell her I'll phone her as quickly as I can?" And then he asks me the gajillion-dollar question, "What are you going to do? Are you prepared? Is your faith deep enough? Are you convicted and understand that there's more to life than just the 60 or 70 or 80 years on this planet? What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it?" And then he asked me the gajillion-dollar question. He says, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Paul, Mom and Dad have spent an entire lifetime teaching us to keep our commitments and promises. I need to go speak. That's what Dad would want me to do. And in my belief, he's now out of his cancer pain, and I'm going to see him again." So I hung up the phone, sat there and wept for another 15 minutes. Phone rings again. This time it is my ride. I go into the washroom, splash some water on my face to freshen up to the best of my ability. I leave my hotel room and I get on the elevator. As the elevator doors start to close, the corner of a bellman's cart nudges its way through the opening, and they bing back open. And on the elevator comes this way overzealous psycho bellman. I'll never forget him as long as I live. He's pushing the runaway cart onto the elevator. Woohoo! Forces me back to the right rear corner of the elevator, and I assume the elevator position. Doors closed, we start going down. He's relentless. Whoa! Did you see the beautiful sunshine? He said, "We've lived up here in Seattle, Washington for 15 years, rained every single day. You must have brought the good weather with you. What's your name? How are you doing?" I said, "I'm Dan Clark, I'm fine." He said, "Mr. Clark, no, you're not. You've been crying." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I just found out my dad died this morning and I'm really sad." And the tears started to stream down my cheeks again. He says, "Whoa." Elevator opens. He goes his way. I meet my bride. He drives me downtown to the convention center. I'm introduced and I make my speech. I had to dig deeper than I'd ever dug in my whole entire life to make that speech. But you can if you think you can, if your why is bigger than your why not. I got to the end of my speech and I said to the audience, "I'd like to conclude with a little song from one of my albums." And I told the audience the reason why I want to sing it is because my dad died this morning and it's the first time he's ever heard me sing it in public. And again, I dug deeper and maybe sang the song better than I ever sung it. I had the driver take me back to the Seattle Airport Marriott Hotel. And here's where you come into my story. Here's where you come into my remarks. And here's where I hope you accept the challenge to leave here and be more than you've ever been because you decide to. I walk into my hotel room and there on the dresser of drawers is a basket of fruit. And it's not your basic basket of fruit that's been delivered from the hotel gift shop. We've all seen these little colored cellophane in a bow, little sterile stamp card. They never get our names right. Thanks for staying with the Sergio. But this was not your typical gift basket. One side was completely caved in. It was smushed. It looked like it was someone's second thought, maybe after hours, no resources available, but they still wanted to make a difference. Can anybody relate? I can see this hotel employee walking through the lobby. They look in the garbage and they're like, "Oh, that's too good to throw away." Wow, Nathan and Lacey would be really proud of us. Do more with less. They retrieved it, took it to my room. Whoever delivered it was obviously the presentation. They turned the broken smush part of the basket towards the wall. Whoever delivered it obviously had walked past that big fake tree in the lobby and yanked off one of those fine rubberized leaves, stuck that in front of the broken smush part of the wall. In my basket of fruit, there was a handwritten card that said, "Mr. Clark, I'm sure sorry your dad died. I'm supposed to get off work at 5 o'clock. I've asked to stay on all day and all night so I can be here just for you. Room service closes at 10 o'clock. The kitchen has agreed to stay open all night long so they can be here just for you. If you need anything, just call and ask for me. Signed, James, the bellman in the elevator. And he's not the only guy who signed that little card. Every single hotel employee that night at the Seattle Airport and Marriott Hotel signed my little card. I still have it matted in a frame hanging on my office wall to this day. Let me debrief and conclude. Here we have the youngest person in the entire employee payroll. He seemingly gets it. Guess what? Answers are in the box, bro. There's only 6 strings and 12 notes, and look what he was able to do, and so can we. Age has nothing to do with success or significance either, does it? And the most important thing I learned, loyalty, being true to our values. Every single time I speak, I'm always relegated to stay at the posh hotel where they have the meeting. You've been there. In fact, most of the doors in my room are so fluffy, I have a hard time getting my suitcase closed. Are you finding that? But every single time I speak in Seattle, Washington, I always stay at the Seattle Airport Marriott Hotel. Even though I have to rent a car at my own expense, drive an hour and a half out of my way to pay tribute to the brand, the integrity of Bill Marriott, take care of the employees will take care of the customer. And every time I speak, I'm pretty emotional, as you can tell. I know that before I take my last breath, God willing, most of my audiences are about 4,000 to 10,000 folks. Go to my website, follow me on Instagram, Dan Clark Speak. So this intimate setting means so much to me. I want you to know that. But my dream is that someday I'm going to be on stage and I'm going to share my bellman story, and an African-American gentleman, smart, strong, sophisticated, elegant, is going to leap to his feet, and he's going to be running this multi-gajillion-dollar company and yell to me, "Thanks, Dan, for remembering." And I can have that opportunity to finally meet this young man, say, "James, you've changed my life forever." Well, I want to leave you with that challenge to be that James today, not wait. Look for opportunities for you to turn success into significance so you don't die with your music inside you. And if you accept Jason's challenge and his wisdom, and accept Kevin's challenge and wisdom, and my challenge, I guarantee today will change your life forever. One moment in time really can change your life if we let it. God bless you. You have a good day.